Hello there. Today I'll be doing my book report on The Reason You Walk by Wab Kinew. The 5 artifacts I'll be going over today are the tobacco pipe, the war bonnet, the eagle feather, the Anishinaabe axe, and the buffalo skull. The first essential artifact is the tobacco pipe. The pipe plays an important developmental role in Wab's life. The tobacco pipe, or ceremonial pipe, is an extremely important ceremonial artifact for the Anishinaabe people. The act of smoking tobacco was a way to show appreciation and gratitude for the blessing of this land, as the smoke would rise into the sky to reach the Creator. This was thought to demonstrate solidarity and power within a group, signifying honor and the sacredness of life. Throughout all of Wab's childhood, being an indigenous kid gave him nothing but hardships. He endured years of continuous discrimination and racism without a father who could comfort him and teach him how to deal with these feelings. When he was young, the only person who tried to support him through his discrimination was his mother. While she empathized with what Wab was going through, his mother did not have any experience with this sort of discrimination and did not know how to help. The tobacco pipe, which was granted shortly after Wab was born, was an anchor for Wab throughout all of his life, especially during his early years. The tobacco pipe and his frequent trips to Onigaming to visit the elder who granted it to him were the only things really connecting him to his indigenous heritage and preventing him from walking the wrong path early on. It would have been easy to denounce his heritage due to it being the sole reason he was being singled out and targeted in school. I feel a familiar sentiment. Living in a culture that I don't completely belong in, it definitely felt strange, even though I didn't experience the same amount of racism or discrimination that Wab did. The war bonnet given to Wab by his father was extremely important during the turning point of Wab's life, and helped drag him out of the cycle of violence and alcohol that Wab was trapped in. The indigenous war bonnet is traditionally worn by the male leader of the respective tribe. They were originally worn as a battle, but nowadays they are used for ceremonial purposes and more akin to a crown worn by the leader. The war bonnet is typically adorned with eagle feathers, which are a symbol of the Anishinaabe people and their connection to the Creator. This war bonnet was given to Wab during the lowest point in his life and was given to him by his father to convey to him that he had a responsibility to live well, and that he owed it to his people to live a good life and not to follow in his father's footsteps of becoming an alcoholic. This was his father's way of telling Wab, "This is what you have to live up to, so you better not disappoint me." He realized he was given many opportunities his father never had. The war bonnet represents the turning point of Wab's life as he accepted the responsibility of living up to his title of hereditary chief and war with the hopes of his people. Wab thought the least he could do for his family, which gave him so many opportunities to excel, was to live a good and happy life. That was the bare minimum to him. The eagle feather is a symbol that demonstrates Wab's change in values as he matured. The eagle feather for the Anishinaabe people reminds the people of the time the Creator came to visit them on the back of an eagle. Because of this, the eagle feather became a spiritual intercessor that connected them to the Creator. Most recognize the eagle feather not only as an emblem of indigenous spirituality, but as a symbol of their people. When working for the media, Wab had a choice between supporting his people through the reconciliation and justice movement at the cost of his job, by calling the people who went through the residential school system survivors. Instead, he could have also called these people former students and continued his career, even if it meant putting out stories that he didn't agree with. When he saw his father representing and doing the indigenous people of Canada justice by handing the feather to the Pope, he realized that he had to stand up for his own people and give back to the people that gave him the chance to be in his position. As someone who has to live up to his father, he was lacking resolve. He remembered that nothing else was as important to him as his people, especially since he had already inherited the title of a hereditary chief. He realized there was no reason to hesitate. I also sometimes struggle between doing what's best or doing what's right for me. The Anishinaabe axe represents the undying spirit and work ethic of the Anishinaabe people. It represents a time in Wab's life filled with understanding and solace. The axe for the Anishinaabe people represents a connection to nature, but is also a symbol of industriousness and hard work. It represents the undying spirit, determination, and work ethic of the Anishinaabe people. The axe is also an item of cultural heritage passed from one generation to another. During his father's final months, his father would chop away using the axe, even when told not to, as was his job as an Anishinaabe person, to work and to devote yourself to the people till the bitter end. This axe represents the time after his father was diagnosed with cancer. During these last moments, he truly reconciled with his father and understood his father and wanted to spend more time with him after finally being able to forgive his father, even if his father's time was limited. The final artifact I will talk about is the buffalo skull. Buffalo skull was a very important artifact during his father's latest stages of life. Traditionally, the buffalo for the Lakota people symbolized self-sacrifice, as it gave all of its essence for torches until there was nothing left. The buffalo perfectly encapsulates the final stages of his father's life, as we see much more imagery and mentions of the buffalo skull, especially in tandem with his father. Even in his life, he gave his all to educating others about his culture, and in doing everything he did for others, he neglected his own deteriorating health. In the end, his father sacrificed everything from his body to his soul for the souls of indigenous communities all around the world. This represented the point at which his father was already past, after the grief eventually faded, and he acknowledged and realized just how much his father had done for him and his community. In conclusion, the tobacco pipe, war bonnet, eagle feather, Anishinaabe axe, and buffalo skull all play crucial roles in Wob's development throughout the book, making him the man that he has become today. Thank you for listening.